Welcome. Welcome to the Dr. Cherilyn Lee Health Show, and we have a wonderful guest today. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. My co-host is Belinda Foster.
Great to be here this morning. Good morning. Good morning.
And our show topic today is the 9 levels of an orgasm. And we have a wonderful host with us again today, Dr. Roy Dittmann. And thank you so much for joining us again today.
Thank you, Cherilyn. Good day. Good morning.
Good morning. So we're going to kind of jump right in. You know, we still, have information from your wonderful book. You've been not a stranger to Inner Light Radio and to a guest on the Cherilyn Lee Show. And again, I want to thank you so much for coming on board today, because there's so many misconceptions we know centered around the word orgasm. And before we start, let's just go by definition. What is the definition of an orgasm?
Well, there's a medical definition, and there's a medical definition of what an orgasm is, of course, which is this really powerful release during sexuality. And then there's the complete energetic and spiritual and emotional aspect of it, which is much deeper, more powerful. And that is it's a conductivity in the body, you might say, and where the body and spirit and the universe are connected. And when people feel this, it moves them. And they go through what's called like an emotional conversion, where bodily they feel the spirit in them. And you see this in a lot of different traditional kinds of dances, like Polynesian dance, Varanasi, traditional Balian and Indian dancing, and flamenco dancing, and so forth. These are really courtship rituals, where the woman is really evoking a response from the man. And this polarity between the man and woman is very important, which I go into in my book extensively in The Biting Baby, on how to conceive a healthy baby. But this is relevant information for anybody of any age. And I wish I knew this when I was a teenager. I started studying some of it, but it wasn't until I was like a celibate, monk for 10 years that I started actually, ironically, reading and studying this, because I was instructing priests and other monks how to have a healthy celibacy. My teacher said, you're a true natural celibate. And I said, what does that mean? He says, you're just naturally celibate. You love God, and your energy is, you're not focused on that. You're just, focused more on God. And I was reading, books by Rumi and other great adepts from the Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib, from Sikhism, and Guru Nanak, and they talk a lot about loving God and being in love with God as your lover. It's really interesting. And I thought, well, that's very poetic and very beautiful to say that. But and when I was a teenager, I was 12, 13, I didn't understand. I thought it was just poetry. But as I got older, I realized that this was actually true. And it wasn't until I had my own experiences in this area that I realized that the 9 levels of orgasm actually correlate to higher states of consciousness. And can
you just please repeat that again, too?
Yeah, so these higher levels of orgasm are actually higher states of consciousness, also higher states of energy in the body. So these immense amounts or releases of energy, which is what an orgasm is and women feel this more directly, because they are the Shakti energy. They are the conductive, thunderbolt, you might say, of humans, and we, as a woman, reaches these higher states of consciousness, and the man directs his energy through his lingam, or his penis. He pushes the chi up into her cervix, and it goes up the top of her head. And with men, it's just the opposite. But with men, their energy tends to come from the top of their head down and release downward. But but when men and women connect, they create what's called the microcosmic orbit, or this infinite, kind of conduit of energy that's really infinite, just like love is infinite. If we are expressing true love during lovemaking, is what it's the true name of it, then we communicate all that is love in the universe in those moments. And that profoundly alters our health, our emotions. We become converted to seeing everything as an expression of love rather than seeing everything as an expression of a threat against us. So I wanted to say that. Thank you for giving that opportunity, because a lot of people think it's all about sexual technique and so forth, but actually it's not meant to manipulate someone else. And people often can use it, but believe me, I've seen people use it in that way, and they usually get, bitten. It doesn't. You can't manipulate this energy. It's like playing with electricity, or trying to pull copper wires out of a wall and not knowing what you're doing. You can get electrocuted. So you have to be careful how you use this, and you have to be emotionally mature to realize these higher states. If you conduct anger, towards another during this, or you can really cause diseases in your body. And I've seen a lot of instances of this. And Western medicine doesn't talk about this, but in Chinese medicine, it's well known.
Oh, yes, I understand, and I know. And also, I know a lot of times when we talk about levels of orgasm, and people who are not maybe in a committed relationship, end up, if they know how to do these techniques and they know what they're doing, and they know that they're not going to be in a relationship with a person, it actually causes a lot of physical and more emotional harm, and not so much physical, the emotional harm in the other party.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Cherilyn. It's very important to be in a committed relationship, and because you need to have security and safety in the context of knowing that someone's going to be there for you. Because, to share one experience I had, I often, my experience in my master's was, who was a Mahan Tantric, they would say, either, what was I going to say, around this, it can drive you mad or it can drive you to enlightenment. And you don't want to manipulate other people with this. My experience when I know what I was going to say, is that the kind of women that are best at this, naturally suited, are either kind of like naive, I don't mean this derogatory, peasant women from Eastern Europe. I met a woman in Poland, and I was totally in love with her, and we were in love with each other, and I was able to have this experience with her because she didn't have any blockages in her emotionally. She was just really open and happy person. And then the other kind are really highly trained tantrikas, they call them, that are trained in tantric yoga or Taoist yoga. But it's not something that, at the lower levels of orgasm, say between 1 and 4, that's normal. That's normal, pretty much what everyone experiences anyway. But to get into the higher levels, you're getting into higher states of energy and consciousness. And the highest levels, like where you're having a full body orgasm, it's really your whole body is in orgasm, and every part of it, and extending out. That is like nirvikalpa samadhi. That's a state of non-duality. And it's a kind of a state of spiritual realization. So in many kind of areas in the world, they had situations where they were where they were practicing these tantric disciplines, and they would consider it a part of their spiritual practice. So the point being, though, is that as you get into these higher states of consciousness and what we call orgasm and bliss, it's really all about love, happiness, consciousness, ecstatic bliss. And, this is all conceptual, but I also want to go into some of the practical. Do you want me to go over some of the levels of
Yeah,
of
we can do.
orgasm?
I mean, our topic is, 9 levels. And I just want to say that, there's a TV show that comes on, and actually they did have a scene in one of the shows how this person would not have pain, joint pain, severe joint pain, in having an orgasm. So we do know that there's a lot of healing, especially with the immune system.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
Definitely is.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. One thing I'd like to say about that is I've noticed with women who have practiced this, on a regular basis, that they get rid of cysts and problems in their reproductive organs come out. They things will come out of them, big clots, and they'll it's much healthier. It does something to their hormones that's quite remarkable. They go into the state of real happiness, bliss, that sometimes they just can't talk actually for days, but they're very happy, and they don't have any conflict internally anymore. It kind of resolves duality or conflict, you might say, which is what they call Advaita Vedanta, spiritual practice in India.
And I just want to say, if you just tuned in, you're listening to the Cherilyn Lee Health Show with your host, Dr. Cherilyn Lee, and my co-host, Belinda Foster. And our guest today is Dr. Roy Dittmann, and our title, The 9 Levels of Orgasm.
And for those of you who would like to write in during the show, you can email at innerlightradio@yahoo.com or call 928-7733, area code 310.
Thank you.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of health benefits to this as well for both men and women. And, a lot of people say, well, what makes, you attractive to other people? And we focus on the superficial, on the makeup or the kind of shirt or tie we have, or, we tend to focus on our hairdo or whatever. But truly, when you have certain kinds of aspects internally in your body, it's what makes us ultimately totally attractive to others. Your chi, your energy, the love you're exuding, the probiotics in your system, your red blood cell count, and the oxygenation of your red blood cells have been shown to make you very attractive to other people. And indeed, one of the signs of that, the why men will look at women, and say, oh, she's very attractive, is they're looking at, certain clues that she has in her face and her nails, and they're looking at strong nails and strong hair and the color of her lips and the color of her eyes and so forth. And men check this out in a moment, and in just a split second. So do women.
And also the nose. The nose is important too.
Yes, it's all.
So it's a total face. Yeah.
We have this instinctual thing that we totally, understand. We're sizing people up all the time.
Most definitely.
So we can go into what the 9 levels are here, kind of like a overall description. Like the level 1 is has to do with the lungs. So, when you touch a woman, you maybe hold her hand, she starts breathing more. It kind of activates the chi and their pheromones, and the nostrils may flare. She starts making sounds like ha or something like this, and then in the second level, it stimulates the heart, where the heart starts pounding. You hear this a lot in a lot of songs. My heart started pumping and beating, and the mind gets more stimulated. She begins to fantasize, and the cervix correlates to the heart in Chinese medicine and Taoist sexology. The tip of her tongue is stimulated, so she wants to kiss. Her mind starts relaxing. In the second level, and she wants.
Can
to
I
hold
just
hands.
say something before you get to the second level? Because it's actually, the third level. It's actually the second level is when the relationship breaks up, or a person, they always go to the heart and say, they broke my heart. Amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah, women and men have said that too, but it's always I have a broken heart. It's always, and that's actually our level 2.
That's
so excuse
right,
me.
yeah.
Go ahead.
And then the third level is stomach, and this is an area where the stomach meridian goes through the eyes, the middle of your eye down to the center of the nipple. And with the stomach meridian, the vaginal walls begin to swell and become hypersensitive. She makes a kind of a sound. And then her lips are more stimulated. She wants to kiss even more and more deeply. She wants like French kiss and so forth. And then at the stomach level, what a man can do for her to help her get more into her energy and get her blood to flow and her chi to flow is to kiss her from the top, right below her eye, down to her cheek, and then to down the side of her neck and right down to her nipple. And if you just do this a couple of times, she will be crawling out of her skin. She will just get really excited. And this works every time. It's a very simple technique. And people often ask me, well, how can the stomach meridian do that? I don't understand. Mm-hmm. I said, I don't quite understand, but I think it has to do with in Chinese medicine, the stomach spleen has a lot to do with how we digest things, how we digest thoughts or emotions, and how we let down our guard and we allow something to be fully assimilated into us. And so with a woman, it's not about submission, it's more about surrender. And with a woman gets power by surrender in Taoist sexology. So at that point, what happens is the spleen has a lot to do with the mind or worry, and the mind lets go. And I think when the mind lets go, then the body is you become more naturally kinesthetic. Women are naturally more tactile, kinesthetic. Does that make sense to you, Cherilyn? In your experience?
Yes, it does. It makes a lot of sense. We should have a lot of men taking notes today. That was something I just read here.
So then in the fourth level, it correlates to the kidney or bladder. And that's where the vaginal lips start enlarging. The vagina becomes fully lubricated, and vaginal spasms start, and she lets go of her fears and taboos. A lot of things start opening up, and there's deeper levels. She's willing to allow the man to penetrate her, and she's starting to want that. And so she wants to be, stimulated, and the lips of the vagina, and she makes moaning sounds at this point. So this is a good time to kiss her upper lip, actually, and the vagina, and then also to kiss the base of her neck, and also touch the base of her spine. Put one hand under the sacrum and one hand under her neck, and just rock her like a rocking chair. And this gets the cerebral spinal fluid flowing up and down her spine.
Just say that one more time so people can get a visual.
Okay, so you put one hand under her sacrum, that's like her lower back, and you put the other hand right at the nape of her neck, right under her head, and then you just gently rock her. And this gets the cerebral spinal fluid in the center of the spine and the brain, the spinal meninges fluid flowing. This is called the tidal body, or primary respiratory mechanism in osteopathic medicine. And what this does is it really gets the internal fluids and higher peptides flowing between the sexual organs and the brain. And once the brain floods with these higher neuropeptides, it creates a state of high ecstatic bliss that is like this very powerful drug-like reaction. And the woman goes into this kind of like, oh my God, I feel so woozy, and she just wants to completely, melt. And so that's the second technique. So the first technique is the kissing on the stomach meridian, Then when you get into the fifth level, it's you're getting now into the higher spiritual, energetic states at this point. So at this point, I always tell men, you have to be really sensitive now to that you're not hyperreactive. You have to be emotionally mature and really be gentle with her in just emotionally. That doesn't mean sexually, because she may want deep penetration and so forth. That's okay. It's just that you have to be sensitive to what she's feeling. And I call it like a ping pong effect. As the woman gets higher level energy, she releases it to the man, and that's how the man balances out his enlightenment, the mental, with the physical. And that's why, in my opinion, a lot of fanaticism, you see a lot of extremism in the Middle East with Jews, Christians, and Muslims, who believe in barbaric things like circumcision and female and circumcision and so forth, and they have this mental realization, but it's not balanced with the female because they don't acknowledge enough of the yin or female goddess energy. And I think that what women do is they embody our enlightenment. They bring a balance to it. So we as men tend to be in our heads more, hypermental, you might say, and women are more centered in the womb. Their energy is in the womb. So as we engage with women and express love to women, they bring our energy in the middle, into the heart. And that's the symbolism of the two triangles, the one upside down, and that's a tantric symbol of the six-pointed star, one pointing down, one pointed up. And that's the symbol of the heart chakra as well. So what that means is that at the fifth level, it correlates to the teeth and bones. And at this point, the woman wants to be really deeply penetrated, and she wants her cervix to be stimulated, in other words. And this is the point where, also you want to hold the sacrum again, on and off, switch different hands, continue to rock her, but deeper penetration. And she wants clitoral stimulation at this point because, as every woman knows, they say they want a man with a slow hand. And what that means, that's code. Women all knows what that means. But to the men out there, let me explain what that means. And that means, don't go right into the clitoris right away. Right, women? You don't jump on that right
Thank
away.
you for having us confirm that. Thank you.
Yeah, so you go gentle, and so this is the point where the woman really wants you to stimulate her clitoris as well as while you're penetrating her deeply. This adds to the energy and the excitement and the neuropeptides flowing even more in her brain and in your brain. So remember, whatever she gets, you get. So this is about relationship, about sharing this ecstatic energy. And God made us like these amazing biological instruments that are here to conduct the universal energy and happiness, bliss, and promote that. I was just telling Cherilyn prior today in our conversation that, it's mandated in the Constitution, the pursuit of happiness. We should have a Department of Happiness that, promotes these things, but we don't.
Yeah, within our
someday.
government. Within our government. A day of joy. Yeah, we need a holiday. Maybe people would focus in on a day of joy in the pursuit of happiness.
Yes,
and we
exactly.
need to have a holiday of forgiveness. I think people, if they're tuned into it, you will be much healthier. Just simple things to let go and start doing and be more conscious and aware of. It has a lot to do with your health.
Yes. And I want to reiterate that women do bring a balance. That embodiment that women bring to us is so important. I think more and more men are realizing that. And I think we can see that, extremism in the world is becoming very dangerous in our day and age. And because we have too many dangerous technologies and weaponry that are being developed. And it's time for us to really, I think, ban all of these dangerous weapons. And it was a long time we should have banned them. And then also at the same time, we need to realize that the real, we need to cultivate ourselves and evolve ourselves more before we should develop more and more dangerous weaponry in the world. But that's my political side.
That's another show.
That's another show.
Yes.
Now let's go into the sixth level, and that is the liver gallbladder. So this is getting into higher spiritual states as well. And this is where you resolve anger, like, repressed anger. This is like, as you just said, the time to forgive everything and everybody for everything they ever did to you in your past, present, and future.
I'm so sorry, but we do have a caller. Caller, can you state your name and where you're calling from? We have a caller. This is in area code 773. You have a question, caller? Okay. We do have another caller who's just... Caller, you want to state your name and where you're calling from, please?
Yes, hi. My name is Devonay Unleashed. I'm calling from Los Angeles, California.
Great to hear your voice, Miss Unleashed.
Thank you so much. I'm listening to the show. Are we talking about orgasms today?
Yes, we are.
Awesome. I love that. Now, here's the question that I have for the doctor and you, Cherilyn Lee. Now, as we get older, we have problems with getting that feeling back inside of us when we want to have sex. Now, due to the genetically modified foods that a lot of us are eating, and due to some of the sugars and the things that are being put into our body that we're eating, it may have something to do with if we get that pump back. So is there something out there besides Viagra, a natural type of food or something that could actually give you, but no, that's not me. I still have mine. But for people that really can't get it back again, what could they do?
Well, right now we're going through the 9 levels. And I think once you...
Well, 9 levels?
9 levels of an orgasm is our topic.
I only need 1 level. I don't... Well, okay.
Okay.
Well, let me answer that question because I can't answer that.
Okay, go ahead.
That's a great question. But because, there are some things that really help. And one of the problems, you're absolutely right, is that, our sexuality in our whole body is being suppressed by these toxins that block it. And so it's really important. All of that is in the book, first of all. So I suggest you buy the book, Brighten Baby. And there's a lot of information about reproductive health because I want people to get their reproductive health in order before they conceive. And one thing that's really great for that is ketone marine plasma, or quintessential. It increases conductivity in the body. It's a marine plasma from the zooplankton in these huge plankton blooms in the ocean, and it's been in use for 110 years. And one of the things people lack is minerals. If you lack minerals, you can't really have an emotional release. You can't have a powerful orgasm, and you can't even get an erection or excited. So it's important people have this conductivity because sexuality is all about conductivity. The other thing you can use is things that reduce inflammation, like turmeric extracts and pomegranate and mangosteen and ginger and so forth. And there's a product called Pycnogenol, which is pine bark extract, which really improves your arterial circulation in both men and women, helps your veins and arteries get younger. Of course, a daily exercise and deep breathing, very important for that, as well as small amounts of niacin and benfotiamine. Benfotiamine is a fat-soluble form of vitamin B1, and it's really good for things like diabetic neuropathy, again, for the microcirculation. But if I go in any more, it gets in very clinical stuff, and a lot of that's in the book, and you can always call me.
Right, and also L-arginine is very good, too, but you have to make sure that you are taking the right form of L-arginine, so always consult with a healthcare practitioner, and that's what I do here at the clinic. So we make sure that everything that we're giving out here at NutriMed Integrated Healthcare is a nutraceutical and is well balanced. But there's tests I think people should have done sometime and to find out where your nutritionally imbalance may be. So there's blood tests can be done for that also, but not always necessarily. But if you're on certain medications and you're diabetic or hypertensive or on hypertensive meds, a lot of these things will start to slow down the function. Also, people are not aware that what can stifle your libido is actually liver conditions. Liver hepatitis is actually one would totally wipe out your libido. You won't have one at all. So, when a person tells me they have a low libido, low sex drive, I do a complete workup on them to make sure there's nothing medically that's standing in the way of them being at their most highest potential. Because you don't want to have an orgasm with a 200 blood pressure neither. So, got to make sure everything is in control.
Can we agree then that what you consume into your body may be contributing to your libido or your orgasmism? I mean, is this a possibility?
Oh, most definitely. And also what you're putting in your mind. It has a lot to do with your orgasm. I mean, to even have, it's something that is coming more from the mind too. So it's not just something that you eat, it's something that you're also thinking about. At first everything comes before in a thought. We kind of went over that with level 1, but it's all, it all works together.
Well, I definitely understand. I want to go back to the 9 levels. I have all of those 9 levels, and I use them periodically to maintain. As far as when you're thinking wrong, I have little things I can turn on the TV or whatever to bring me back to what I need to be focusing on as far as an orgasm. But a lot of people don't know actually what to do, and they feel as though, well, maybe I'm getting old and maybe I don't have it anymore, and but I feel as though what you guys are saying today will help a lot of us, men and women. So thank you so very much.
Thank you for calling, but I wish you could kind of listen in, because it's really, we're going over the levels, and actually we spoke about the intimacy and really, first really caring for that person. A lot of times people get into, and I kind of spoke about that on the show before, but you must have feelings for that person. A lot of times people are into things that they don't, and not aware that, I'm not feeling this way because you're not really into that person in the first place.
Well,
so
can I just say that sometimes people are not with someone to have an orgasm? So sometimes, even if the orgasms are good for you, whether you're with somebody or not, they're good for you. So can you guys talk about orgasm when you don't have a partner?
Okay, Dr. Dittmann.
Well, I was actually talking about that to begin with. I was celibate for 10 years when I started learning about this. Yeah, I mean, look, there's so many great enjoyments in life, and and it's really, we're always making love to the entire universe at every moment. If we just notice it, miracles are always already present as our love being presence, as who we are, and as we realize that, we attract like-minded partners who respect us, and they acknowledge that inside of themselves and in us, right? And so as we mature, we get greater levels of happiness and energy and love. And you can see this in many great people in history that loved humanity. As they say, no matter, if you don't see God in everyone, you don't see God in anyone. And that's true for animals and plants and the universe and stars. Everything in the universe is a part of us, and we're part of it. And so we're kind of a reflection, a macrocosm of that. Let's move on to level 6 here, which is the liver gallbladder. This is a time to resolve like resentment or anger, and people naturally do this during this level. And it's a very powerful spiritual experience. The eyes start rolling up in the woman at this point, and she wants to scratch or bite, or she wants to dig her nails, and it has to do a lot with the nails. And men report this a lot. They said, "Oh my God, you're exactly right. That's what happened." Now, it doesn't mean that just because she does that, some women just always do that. But it's not. There's other signs that she's moving into higher states, and her spine will kind of move in this rhythmic wave, actually, and she makes more screaming sounds at this level, actually. And then in the 7th level is the blood level, and this is when she wants to merge, she wants to converge, and completely surrender. And she has this really, even if she never thought about it, she wants to conceive often. This is where she has this really strong desire to draw the sperm inside of her, and her lips become really, pumping. She can feel a pulse in her lips. It's very strong. And then she'll get faster, deeper heartbeat, and she really wants the G-spot, which is the spot, just inside and on the upper side of the vaginal wall, about 2.5 inches in. And it's kind of a spongy area. And this area is where women can female ejaculate. So they often at this point it'll be really strong, and a lot of fluid can come out. So if you're doing these things seriously, you should have a towel around, because that's what happens naturally. But oftentimes that'll happen at the 4th level as well. Now these are just techniques I'm talking about, it's abstract descriptions, but ultimately it's about a spiritual love and emotional intelligence that is being conducted, that are the real power here. And we should never use these things to manipulate other people. And it is, as Cherilyn pointed out, can be dangerous, because when people get into these higher states, they can crash down, and if they don't have somebody there to comfort them, it can be traumatizing. So usually when women go through these high levels of orgasm, they are shaking afterwards, and you need to hold them for about an hour sometimes. And just
an hour? That's a long time.
It is sometimes, and so women have to be and men have to be very patient. But we're talking about the really high levels. Usually, it doesn't take that long. Usually, it's it's just whatever the woman is experiencing. But you just kind of have to stay with her and hold her, and because for women, it's very important to feel held and have that physical connection afterwards as well. And that this is a kind of a cooling down period, you might call it, just like after a strong workout. It is literally like a workout.
No, it is definitely a workout.
And it really makes women look younger. I mean, I'm just seeing women just look like dramatically longer. Like, whoa, how does that happen in a day? But it's very healthy for you to get these neuropeptides in your brain. They're more powerful than growth hormone and other things, actually. So, there's then it goes into the nervous system in an 8th level, and this is kind of like correlates to what we call savakalpa samadhi. These are higher levels of consciousness where the tendons and ligaments physically will relax as well in the body, and so all the systems in the body become integrated, and the electrolytic body and subtle anatomy is engaged. The acupuncture meridians and all the chakras are lit up. And there's a release of multi-generational karmic patterns. You can release past life karmas and in the nervous system, including PTSD syndromes as well. But at this point, she can start to scream uncontrollably, and this can scare a lot of men. I once had this happen, and I was afraid that the neighbors were going to call the police. And because she was screaming for like 15 minutes, and I didn't know what to do. It was the first time I had seen this, and I was like scared. And then I just looked in her eyes, and I realized that she was like completely happy, and there was nothing wrong. And then I calmed down, and was like,
I'm sure
whoa.
you did.
So, but I was. It's important to know that that's okay. That it's a screaming. Like, have you ever seen women scream at a Beatles concert or the Elvis or many, they that's a Shakti energy, and women naturally have this. It's something that they do to release energy out the top of their head, and so their energy is going up, and it's so strong that if they try to block it, it's painful actually. So what's important for you to do as a man is again go back to holding the sacrum and the top of her the back of her neck, and just allow the energy to flow up and out of her system, and just let that bliss, happiness, consciousness flow, and that will, get into these higher levels. Now, I think in the 9 levels is very esoteric because it's a full body orgasm, and it's not that in the other parts you can't feel the full body orgasm, but in this one it's integrated fully with the spiritual energy. And at this point, there's no difference between you and God. You feel totally in love with God and universal intelligence. People get these amazing downloads of information, and they feel at one with everything, and they are really integrated into all life. And they just, they'll go for a walk afterwards and just see. It's like psychedelic, almost like they say. It was like I was on LSD or something. I was just walking out, and I could see the top plants talking to me, and these very, esoteric things. And so the 9th level is also something you want to prepare for. You don't want to just try to do this all at once, but prepare by, doing a lot of meditation and yoga and eating a pure diet. As the woman who called in pointed out, if you're eating a toxic diet, you don't want to go into these high levels because it will be kind of a terrifying experience for you, because you'll start detoxing these things, and you'll have a very toxic experience, and because those things create blockages in your conductivity. So you want to purify your body before you do this. Yeah.
That's important. I think that's very important to really have your body ready, and then you're mentally ready and you have fun, especially if you're in a relationship with someone that you're concerned about and someone that you love.
Exactly. Yes. So I mean, there's a lot of information around this. With men, you want to make sure your prostate's healthy. So there's a lot of things you can do to have a healthy prostate. I recommend. For men and women in the book, there's a whole chapter about male-female reproductive massage techniques, what kind of oils you can use, and so forth. Stay away from synthetic perfumes and oils.
Definitely.
Those are toxic, and also do things which help to conduct energy. I tell men and women, to go out in the sun too, because we never think about it, but we never get our genitals out in the sun, and it's important to do that. My father is a nudist, so I was raised in that. And although it was kind of ironic, my mom was a Catholic, so I joke and I say I started a Catholic nudist club, but no one came. And my father, no, seriously, my father was a nudist, and so we would go to these nudist clubs all over Europe and different parts of the world, and I learned from, these they were mostly scientists, very intelligent people, and they said, it's very healthy to be out in the sun, and they told me about how healthy sunlight was, well before it became known just a few years ago that vitamin D from the sun prevents cancer. So there was a myth spread for 40 years from mostly dermatologists who wrongly told people that, sunlight causes skin cancer. Only in large amounts. So if you're getting, 15 to 20 minutes of sunlight at a time, at when the sun, late morning or, afternoon, later afternoon, when the sun is at a different angle, it's very safe and it's very healthy. And it really stimulates your growth hormone, pituitary.
Most definitely, yes, it does.
It's so important.
Yes, and we have a LaDonna via Facebook that has sent us a message. And she said that she met a man a couple years ago, and simply when he touched her arm or her waist, she felt this intense heat in her body. Mm-hmm. That felt like she was going to explode in 30 seconds. She said really a gasket in less than 30 seconds. And when it came to intimacy for the first time, she thought that she was in love for the very first time. And and basically her story it's really a beautiful little story, because now they are engaged to be married. Because he told her, well, let's see if you feel this way. Let's see if you feel this way the next day. And she felt wonderful. So, I just want to say that what we've been talking about, and thank you so much, LaDonna, via Facebook, for sending in your question. It just confirms what we're talking about. And a lot of us here and there have had experiences like that. And, God bless you to have a wonderful experience that way with a person, because I worked on a couple of cases with people, and I think I brought this up last week, where a lady had sustained a gunshot wound to the back of her head. And so when I met her, she was already she was a paraplegic. And working on this private case with her, her husband, they had been married, I think, 10 years by the time I met them. And he said, I'm not going to put her in a convalescent home. I'm going to take care of myself. So he, bought a house that was a lesser amount of money. He had a generator at home. He took her camping because he took the generator because she was on life support. And he took her to the drive-in theaters. Back then, it was a little bit more common. We don't really see that now. But, and I would look at him in the evening, and he said, all I need to do is just sit here and hold her hand. He said, I'm so in love with this lady, with my wife, that all I need to do is just sit here and hold her hand. And he would sleep by her bedside, just holding her hand. And all she would do was smile. This lady never looked depressed. You would think they had just gotten married. It's the most beautiful story and the most beautiful relationship I think I've ever seen in anyone in my entire life. But I said, you had to start off with true love from the beginning. It was more than just an orgasm. It was more than just, something on the intimate level. It was much more going on with this couple prior to her accident.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I see that in what you have written here, and that's so beautiful. And God bless you. That's all I could say.
That's a great story.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Wow. Well, yeah, see, what she's
indicating... I'm so sorry. We have another caller. Please state your name and where you're calling from, please.
Oh, hello. Hi, this is Glenda, and I was just calling about the healing levels of orgasm. Can you tell me, what about level 7?
Well, we went over that level 7 has to do with the blood, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So we can... Go ahead.
And that's in the book. If you want to go back to that, it's in the book. It's in chapter 40 in the Brighton Baby book. We describe, the different levels and what they correlate to, and some of the techniques.
Listener, she might have just came on board with us. So if you don't mind, Dr. Dittmann, maybe just a little bit enlightenment on it, and level 7, because level 7 is pretty powerful.
Yeah,
it is. Yes,
that's one of the spiritual, energetic, a very high level. Most people never get beyond level 4, so it's not really a concern for most people anyway. But it is, it is a much stronger area where the cerebral spinal fluid is really fluid in the spine up into the brain, and so it clears ancestral blockages. So it's really important to understand when this stuff comes up, because people can think they're hallucinating or something, but what happens is you're clearing out past karmas from your ancestors during this stage.
Oh, my goodness. That is so wonderful to know. Where would I be able to get your book?
Well, you can get it by going to brightonbaby.com, and then it's all over in bookstores everywhere now, and Amazon. And
okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Roy Dittmann?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for your call. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
we have covered them all, and I just want to say that, I know we had a caller earlier that asked quite a few questions as it relates to health and everything, but also, how you feel about yourself is very important also. You have to first love yourself before you try to give love to someone else. You really have to love yourself.
Yeah, it's so true, and people say that a lot, and we have to ask the question, what does that really mean? And what the other woman asked the question about, what do you do when you don't have a partner? I guess I should complete answering that question, and that is that, what the Taoist yogis say is that for men, or at least, they don't want to, it's not good to ejaculate a lot, and to the excessive masturbation is not good for men. With women, it's different. They don't lose energy like a man does, but they can become hypermental too. It's important to have some kind of physical relationship so we don't become too abstract. Right now, a big problem is pornography in terms of, I'm all for, enjoying appreciating the female body. My mother always had, naked statues by Rodin in the living room, and some people were very conservative. They were shocked, like, oh my God, there's a naked statue in your living room. But, she used to say, the body is beautiful and people need to get over it. It's art, And that's why I see it. The body is a work of art made by God. And so if we are to, and the Sri Lankan people taught me that. They're very, native types of wisdom. They call it divine body care. What the body is just a beautiful thing, and it's here to enjoy life. And so, when you're by yourself, it's important to have a relationship with yourself, but not to the point where you're abusing yourself, not with a point where you're becoming hypermental, obsessed with dots on a screen, I like to call it, because pictures are just pictures. They're not human beings. We have to be careful not to become too detached or dissociated from humanity. And it's always important, no matter what level of relationship we have. socially that we engage with a real human being. And so I encourage you, to love yourself and God by yourself. If you don't have a partner, it's important to at least have a friend and somebody that you can be with. I often tell people, look, you don't have to always have sex. Why not just cuddle? Have a friend you can hug with and hold hands with, and something, because that keeps it very grounded and human and compassionate, and you're not abstract. You're fully engaged with someone and having a real relationship. Because in our world today, it's so easy to contract and pull away from relationship in life. And I think the greatest mental problems are cured by spiritual principles.
Yes.
Which is just simply to really see who that other person is and love them, whether you're physically incapacitated or not. There's a lot more to life than just our physical body, even.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Belinda?
Yes.
Well,
I'm listening. I'm listening attentively to this whole wonderful segment. This is incredible.
I think it's been a wonderful show today, and we have a couple of minutes left here. So, and if you're just joining in, I'm sure this show will repeat again on Interlight Radio, the Healing Frequency, which is a wonderful venue for us to have such a wonderful show that we can actually talk and disseminate this wonderful information to all over the world. And I'm so happy that we have this venue to do this. I just want to say
Absolutely.
that you're listening to the Cherilyn Lee Health Show. You can reach Dr. Lee at 310-419-4300 at Nutrimed Integrated Healthcare. So if you have any questions, you can always contact me. Dr. Dittmann, would you like to give your information, please?
Yes, you can contact me by email at Roy Dittmann, spelled with 2 T's and 1 N at Gmail, or you can reach me through brightonbaby.com.
Okay. And I think that, the 9 levels of orgasms, just a quick little couple seconds summary. I know we've covered a lot, but what would be the main point of today you would like our listening audience to leave with?
I think the main point is to have a healthy relationship with yourself and understand how to manage your own reproductive health, which is a lot of information in Brighton Baby about this. And then also, I think, Cherilyn, you would agree with this. Dr. Lee has some great methods for cleaning out the liver, the colon, and prostate care, and cleaning out your reproductive system, and also strengthening it. And, what I'm encouraged by is seeing cultures in Sri Lanka, in Polynesia, many parts of the world where people just don't have these problems. They don't have these high amounts of prostate cancer and cervical dysplasia and ovarian cysts. They just don't have those problems. Women in Polynesia don't have, menstrual problems. And now some of on the new modern diet do, but traditionally they never had them in their history.
Isn't that amazing?
Their diet was healthy and their dancing was effective. Yeah. So there's ways to do that all healthily.
Right. And I just want to say, not to cut you off, we have 30 seconds left, and I want to thank you very much, and my co-host, Belinda Foster,
Thank you so
for
much.
being here today. And we'll be here next week, 11:30 to 12:30 Pacific Standard Time. And I want to truly thank you, Dr. Dittmann. We will be bringing you back on again because your book is about 1,000 pages. So it's a lot of wonderful information there. Wonderful information. I think everybody should just have one in their house. But thank you again for tuning in to the Cherilyn Lee Health Show with your host, Dr. Cherilyn Lee. And again, what I always say in departing, please repeat after me. I am so grateful that I am a magnet for many, many miracles. Have a wonderful and blessed day.